Curtis Calhoun here with MMA News, and it's always great catching up with my next guest who came up with a big win this past weekend at UFC Vegas 75. It's Modestas Bukauskas. How's it going, Modestas?
Yes, going very well. Thank you, sir. Very good to speak to you again.
Absolutely, man. And second straight time we've spoken right after a win. Just kind of give me your first thoughts on your performance. Obviously, Zach Ponga is a really tough guy. Just kind of give me your thoughts on the fight and how things played out.
Yeah, very, very tough fella. Tougher than I thought he would be. He had to change up his game plan because obviously certain things of his didn't work. But yeah, but for me, I kind of fought well. There's areas that I fought well, and there's areas which I didn't fight well. There's areas that for some reason I didn't use, and for some reason I did well in other areas. So it was really weird. It was a mixed bag. It was a mixed review for me. I could have done much better, but at the same time, there are still things that I did do well. That followed the game plan. So it's just about kind of piecing it all together and really making a beautiful jigsaw piece put together 100% correctly the right way. And I've yet to do that, but I know that as the fights continue and as my experience continues, my fights will only get better, and I'll be able to show that even more.
You and I spoke a lot in our last conversation about your first stint with the UFC versus now. And I don't want to get into all that because you've already answered a lot of those questions. But I want to ask you, do you feel like you're able to process your wins a lot better and a lot differently now as opposed to your first stint in terms of, looking at the fight analytically and looking at some things that you need to improve on and all that?
I think I've always had a very analytical. Sorry, I just had a call there. My bad.
No, you're good.
I think I've always had a very analytical mind. I'm always trying to pick myself apart. I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to that. But I think what's different, I would guess you could say, is that I'm just a bit more open minded. Where not to say that I wouldn't listen to certain things, but now I'm really trying to take in as much as I can from all different angles, from all my coaches, from all different areas, and see where do I actually need to improve? What things do I need to add on to my game, or where did I go wrong here? Where did the game planning go wrong? So my analytical mind is just a bit more stimulated. It's a bit more mature, and it's going to help me to bring on better performances in future. I definitely feel like I had probably a bit the demons of the apex still lingering around, so I'm glad I was able to get rid of those.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. Do you almost kind of see this as poetic, given you mentioned some of your struggles at the Apex before, that now in the second stint you're able to, get a really good win over a really tough guy, and do you kind of see that as, a really important part of your journey?
Yeah, I mean, I think just building up the wins, building up the experience in the cage. These are all very, very important things. My first time round, I took two hard fights too early on. You got to think of things strategically as well. And not only, I mean, Zach is a very tough opponent. He's the right opponent at the right time, and these are things that we're going to continue to work our way up the ladder. These are how the bigger stars are born, and stuff like that. So this is what I'm going to continue to do. And obviously the last time I fought at the Apex was the most horrific knee injury that I've ever had, and like I say, although those fights in my head have completely gone out of my subconscious, probably subconsciously, the fact that I'm at the Apex again, competing where I had really bad turnouts in my last two, probably, maybe had some sort of, like I say, an effect subconsciously, but I battled those demons within the cage. I felt very comfortable out there when I walked out and everything. I definitely feel a lot more comfortable as the fights go on, as I'm sure many other fighters do. And yeah, it's just a case of continue to build on this, continue to improve, continue to get better, and continue to make even more spectacular performances.
You feel like a slower and more methodical approach towards the top 15 now is a better move for you as opposed to, your first stint. Obviously, you mentioned that, you were trying to rush right into it and work your way up the ladder. Do you feel like that's the right move now in terms of, taking your time and developing your skills towards that, towards the
Yeah,
rankings?
yeah. And that's just me personally. Some others may be able to sort of jump right in and fight top contenders straight away. And Some people are just more mentally ready at that point. But for me, I wasn't earlier on in my career, and now I feel like I'm doing things the right way. And you have to look at your performances critically in terms of, okay, the things that I did good and things that I didn't do good. How would this work against the top 15 guys and this and that? And if you're not saying that those performances are going to be good against the top guys, then you've got to think, okay, well, let's just try and improve a little bit from that last one, improve a little bit from the other one. And obviously, I want to get more finishes as well. I've had 2 decisions now in a row. I want to really rack up those finishes, and I've had opportunities to do more damage in each of those fights. And these are things that I'm going to continue to work on. And you want to bring on really spectacular performances, really bring up the highlight reel, and do that, like I say, accordingly, bit by bit, piece by piece. You don't have to rush anything. This career is not going nowhere. I've still got another, maybe 7 or 8 years left in this game, so I can really take my time with it. Obviously, I do want to fight. I mean, I think every fighter wants to make money and make legacy and make those highlight reels. But I'll take my time with it. I've got the appropriate people helping me to improve my game, and I just want to show massive improvements from fight to fight. And I want to put on some finishes. So that's what I'm going to be working towards, fixing those particular areas.
After watching the fight a few times, one thing that really stood out in terms of, looking at the scorecards versus the fight itself, and it just seemed like the judges were putting a lot of emphasis on, the damage that you were able to land. Did you feel like that was the case? And do you feel like that kind of separated you when it came to the scorecards and how they saw the fight?
Yeah, 100%. Because there's a lot more shots that, some shots were damaging that he threw, but there was a lot more shots that popped his head back or made him wobble or, hurt him, or, you heard a massive crack in the crowd from a body kick or something. These are things that are really, play a bit. I see that they're taking that as more of a big thing in the fight game, is now damage. Before it used to be cage control. Now it's actually damage plays a bit of a bigger part in the judging and the scoring criteria. And I think as it should be. Just because you're controlling the cage doesn't mean you're landing the damage. So one thing that I was able to do that probably threw off his game plan a little bit was I was able to stay off of the cage, which is where he wanted the fight. So the fact that I was able to do that made it play more into my game, and then I was able to land my shots, my counter strikes, and I definitely think that was the reason why I won the fight, was because I landed more damage. And especially even in the first round, you could say, oh, yeah, he took me down, but did nothing with it. I got back up to my feet, and I almost, I really had a good shot at finishing him in the first round. So, and then you look at the end of the third round, especially as well. So, I'm going to continue to work on landing more damage, but also probably up my volume a little bit more and kick a little bit more. I think I was very boxing heavy just because I was doing a lot of shoot boxing in my training, because I couldn't use my legs due to one injury, and then my partner had an injury, and so I had to change things up. And then it's funny how that translates so much into your fighting. So these are all things that are going to be worked on, and I'm glad that I'm able to see those things, and it's very exciting to build upon those as we're moving forward.
The injury that you had, did you feel like that kind of forced you to make a big adjustment in the fight itself, and especially with the last few weeks of your camp?
No, not necessarily, because it wasn't like a bad thing. I just caught someone on like a knee or a shin or something, like with my foot, and it's obviously you just can't kick with it, so I can't spar and kick, and obviously in the fight I didn't kick quite as much, so and that's usually been like a big part of my game in my previous fight. So maybe it played a factor, maybe it didn't. But also I was thinking I don't want him, to catch my leg and stuff like this. And but something's about being a bit more confident, a bit more reckless as well. And that can bring on better performances. So I'll definitely be bringing that more into the future fights. Like I say, this was a good performance, not by no means my best performance, but a good enough performance to get the win, and a good performance to build off of to make a better one the next time around.
A big addition to your team too that I don't believe we spoke about in our last conversation is Steven. You mentioned him in your Octagon interview, and I got to ask a little bit about that. Obviously, a really talented videographer too. Talk to me a little bit about your relationship with him and what he's meant to the team so far.
He's an absolutely amazing guy. Really, he's one of those guys that you really just connect with really well. It's like someone who you become best friends with straight away without you know, you just talk and you just realize that both of you are on the same wavelength and you've got really similar mindsets. And I met him at UFC London. He said he's been a fan for a while. We just started chatting. And he was a really nice guy, and I just always remember him being a really nice guy. And then he messaged me on Instagram saying he's a very talented videographer. Saw some of his work, for bloody hell. He said he wants to do a documentary, and he mentioned that he has motor neuron disease. And for anyone that knows that, that's, you know, it's a fatal thing, right? And you know, and it wasn't just the fact that that was a big thing, but he said, I want something to focus on, to really work towards, to help motivate me, to keep me going every single day. And obviously that played a big part into me saying, yeah, go ahead. But also his work was so good and we got on so well. And then it just so happened that we just became such good friends. And when he did the first recordings, like near my house, and then afterwards leading up to the fight, you know, I got my manager to get it all sorted. It's just, you know, the friendship that we created, you know, the story that we're creating, and for me to be able to give that motivation and inspiration for someone to continue to keep, and he's a real this is why I said he's a real definition of a fighter. He keeps fighting every single day, knowing that he's got something, you know, really bad on the horizon, and he keeps going. He keeps on with a happy face. He keeps living life to the fullest. And it's very nice for me to be able to open another door for someone who means a hell of a lot to me. So you know, Steven's like I said, we've become amazing friends in such a short space of time. And that's a true testament to what such a good-hearted person he is. And yeah, he's done an amazing job with all the photos and all the editing. And I'm really looking forward to, you know, we're making a documentary talking about everything in my career. And I really do think it's something, you know, Netflix worthy, you know, and hopefully someday, maybe if we put everything all together, maybe it will be, or maybe it will be over even just through this one, because, you know, the story for me is to try and leave an impact on this world, and the way I can do that is to show anyone that you can come back from adversity, as I've mentioned this before. So through him and his documenting, maybe, you know, that is the big goal, for not just for me but for him as well. And it's funny how all of our stories resonate. So yeah, he means a lot to me, that guy.
You feel like your friendship and relationship with him, in, you know, obviously being a fighter that he is, and yourself as well, do you feel like that's kind of improved your perspective on things, not even just with fighting, but just on life itself?
Oh, 100%, 100%. The way he just like I said, the way he just keeps going every single day, and, you know, keeps a smiling face, and you know, he has mentioned he has had some very dark times, but it's almost like I say, very similar. We resonate in the fact that we've had our hard times, but we managed to battle through it, and then we just keep on going and keep finding motivation. And you know, the fact that we resonate with each other just helps me to want to build this story even more, to help he'll build his story, and to keep, you know, it's all just a tumbling effect of positive vibes going around. And it's amazing that we're able to do this for each other. And yeah, it makes me even more motivated for the future.
Well, last question for me, man. I want to get your thoughts. Like, obviously, you know, just a few days removed from the fight, but are you looking to fight a couple more times by the end of the year, or what's kind of the initial plan as of right now?
Well, I mean, I'm definitely 100% without a doubt want to fight one more time this year. If we can squeeze in two, that'd be great. I definitely want to fight in Europe. I definitely want to fight in front of a big crowd. So these are all things that I think I've earned now. Having fought on short notice and then winning in Vegas in a place where I've had not too many good memories. So I'd really like to fight in a big stadium, a big arena, in Europe somewhere. These are all things that are definitely in my thought process. And if we can get two in, that'd be great. But 100%, put on a really good performance and really start paving my way towards the top 15 for next year.
Absolutely, man. Well, before we wrap things up here, once again, I really do appreciate the time, and it's always great to chat with you. If there's anybody you want to thank or anybody you want to shout out, feel free to shout out Steven's video content too, where we can check that out.
Life Behind the Lens, Life Behind the Lens 84, I believe is his Instagram. So go and check him out. He's got a lot of really amazing stuff. I have to ask him for the website that he has, but really amazing work. So go and check him out. He's been a massive, great guy, great addition to having around with the team and everything. Thank you as well, obviously, sir, for having me on to do the interview. I really appreciate you and your time. I've got to thank, obviously, my dad, main man. Got to thank Danny Batten, Lucas Klinger, and Raymond, all at BST Academy, helping me to improve. William Curry, Obviously, a great training partner of mine. Got to thank Prometheus Combat, Hodger Gracie's Academy, Ari Estefanmes, and Pure Jiu Jitsu have helped me with my Jiu Jitsu. Sandra Tavadze as well, a really good Georgian grappler as well. I've got to thank, obviously, Iridium Sports Agency. I must admit, are the best sports agency ever. The way that they helped me out during this whole fight week has been outstanding. Outstanding. Like I can't even begin to describe how much I really appreciate them and what they've done for my career. Distinct Physio as well, Fighter Shop UK. I've got to thank, obviously, Paul Stain and the Coachellas as well for coming out to Vegas to watch me fight and for organising the after party afterwards. So, yeah, I've got an amazing stable of people always helping me, always trying to help me to be my best. And I love you all. So, and also big shout out to One Athletic for providing absolutely amazing track suits for the fight. And they're a big brand that are coming up. So watch out for them.
That's what's up, man. Well, I appreciate the time. This is becoming a thing for the two of us before and after your fights. I appreciate always you making some time, and I'm sure we'll chat again soon. And congrats again on the big win, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, my man. And like I say, it's always a pleasure talking to you. And long may these conversations continue.